My name is Kate Hush, and I am a neon artist, and I'm from the United States. My background is I learned how to do neon in the back of a commercial studio. Pretty much, I got a job there, and at first I was a designer, kind of mocking up how all of the signs would look, and then little by little would teach myself with, some guidance, not a lot, how to do all the different parts of the neon process. First, I learned the designing and how you do that, and how you make a pattern, how to bend the glass. And then I got better at bending the glass, and then I learned how to fill it with the gas and then install it. So now I can do a piece from, conception to electrification to putting it on the wall. And I did all of that in Brooklyn, New York, over the past 10 to 12 years. I studied graphic design in school, but I never really got too deep into fine art or sculpture. I really just was doing stuff digitally, and I started mocking up neon style pieces digitally, and that's how I got an interest in neon and then fell into the studio as a designer, and it all happened from there on out. When I first went into the world of neon on this commercial side, a lot of the fine art I saw was all text-based. And even when I was starting out in the beginning, I had a couple text-based pieces. I like to call them my practice pieces. But there was just something that was not fulfilling to me about just bending a word. It wasn't enough. So the studio I was in had all of this abundance of glass, some of it really old and some of it that was not used a lot. And some of this glass was just incredibly skinny, almost like a drinking straw. And I thought, if I use this teeny tiny millimeter diameter of glass, I could get a lot of detail in there, enough to do pictorial images. Because I was really into conceptual art, and I really love film, and I wanted to kind of find a way to marry that really visual art from film and find a way to do it in neon that wasn't employing text. I wanted to actually make the image in neon, so I was able to take this tiny glass, and I was told not to do it. Oh, that's too difficult. That's so hard to process. It's so hard to light. But I thought, do it now and ask for mercy later when somebody says, why did you do that? So I started using that glass and finding I could get such detail out of it and make these very graceful, intricate images of what I wanted to convey. Because a lot of the glass out there is pretty thick and you can't get much detail in it, which is why it works great for large text and block text. But it was just, the perfect coincidence that I found this tiny glass and it was able to do what I wanted it to do. So for the Collected Light exhibition, right around the time I was asked if I wanted to do a piece for the show, I had been, I'm from the United States, and I had been thinking a lot about the Supreme Court had just overturned Roe versus Wade, and it was just such a surreal, bizarre thing to think about, and this day and age that would happen. And I happen to live in Detroit, Michigan, and there's this river there called the River Rouge, and it connects to the Detroit River, which is larger, which is connected to Canada. So from where I lived, you could look over the river and see Canada. And I just thought, how wild is it that I'm in the United States right now, and maybe I would have to go across the river to another country to get reproductive rights. And I just kept thinking of this scene in my head of a woman crossing over this river at night to, you know, get what she needed. And the actual law that, or precedent that was overturned was Roe versus Wade. And Wade was the man that took Roe to court to try to publicize her abortion. And he was anti-choice, anti-abortion. So what this piece represents is not letting these Wades get in your way. And what this piece is showing is a woman getting across this river to get what she needs, and just, you know, leaving this pile of Wades behind her and doing everything she can. For fine art, I think one of my biggest inspirations is probably Cindy Sherman. And she did all those film noir photographs of herself as these different female characters, and that is something I felt really connected to. I believe I saw it in MoMA for the first time, and I just had always loved film noir, and to see her kind of frame that in a fine art sense, I was like, wow, yeah, you could do this, and it could be up in a museum. It's not just a movie in a movie theater. But I've always loved that, you know, those stories, those gritty stories, and the dark atmospheres of film noir, and I just always thought that was an interesting thing to explore, especially because a lot of them, it's funny, are black and white, but they still have so many neon lights, but you just don't know what colors they are. And, you know, these, you know, women in the films are always some seedy, dark character, and she'll always walk up under this light that you can just tell is neon. And I remember when I first started getting into the medium, thinking like, wow, all these women are so cool under this neon light. What if I could make them out of the neon light? And that's kind of where my world started. I think light both creates and affects atmospheres. And I really love the way light glows and dissipates out of a neon tube. And I think it can change an entire mood and an entire room. And I love how neon is kind of the best of both worlds. It's a visual representation that's literal, and it also has this whole other gamut to it where the light and the color that it emits just brings it to a whole other level. You know, you could be at a gallery show, and I guarantee you, if it's all paintings and it's one neon piece, everybody goes to the neon first, because it's, you know, it's like moths to a flame. I think people are just innately attracted to light, especially when it's an unusual color that's not often seen in nature. If I could, would be a personal project, I would have my entire home just neon lights. No, I don't want any office lights, nothing cool white. I don't want to do work in there. I would just want a home all pink and warm reds and oranges. Yeah, it would be expensive and time consuming, but I don't know that one necessarily sticks out more than the others. I think this one I made for this exhibit is probably my most personal. I think a lot of the other ones all touch on, you know, catharsis and being a woman and the things you wish you could do and get away with. And I think for the first time, this piece, A Wade in the River Rouge, was just coming from something like, oh, this is actually affecting me now. And I really do wish we all could do this. I mean, just pragmatically, neon is very difficult to work with. But I think being a woman in neon is especially tough because I've been doing it for so long and I know what I'm doing and I think I'm pretty good at it. And you still come across people who just question me all the time. I always say, like, I feel like I could go up into the clouds and like bend a piece with God himself and everybody sees it. And then I'll come back down and I will still have someone kind of look at me and walk up and be like, you sure you know what you're doing, hun? You know, it's like that will always happen. And I don't know if that will ever change, but I hope it does. I just don't think women start on the same level as men, and I don't think we have an easy time getting there if we can ever get there. I think a great example is, you know, I've worked in commercial neon in New York City for a long time, and I would go into very high-end galleries, and it was very clear most of the women, they called them gallerinas, were the ones getting the water and be like, do you need anything? And then all the men were in the positions of power and being taken very seriously. I mean, I've gone into these institutions to do work, and I was the seasoned one, and I was in charge of the group, and the first person somebody would go to was the, you know, the male that was 10 years my junior. They would just go right up to him and shake his hand, and I'd be like, hello. I'm in charge here. It's just not a level playing field. Don't let anyone tell you no. I say just go ahead and ask for forgiveness later, because a lot of people are going to try to tell you no.